All right, babies. Yalla. How are we doing? It's another video, and it feels like I'm coming back to myself. I'm not gonna lie. So today's video is the seated position in Japan and how its purpose was to numb your feet so other people can trust you. Again, I do. Sometimes I remember where these notes come from. Most times I don't. But at the very least, I know what I'm talking about. So that's what I discuss out loud and go like, why did it pique my interest? Seated state in Japan and how its purpose is to numb your feet so that others can trust you. Now, uh, the seated state specifically, let's see how what it was called quickly. But when you go to people's houses, especially samurai, if you enter with your sword, many they were forced to sit on their knees, knee sitting position of the samurai. Let's see what it's called. Seiza. So the Seiza basically is a seated position, and the purpose was it because if you sit in that position, like you literally just like push your knees on the ground, and I don't know how to show it to you. Maybe I can draw something here. Okay. Anyways, if you're interested, Google it. The Seiza position is you drilling your knees on the ground and actually laying on your ankles, sitting on your ankles. And what happens was it stretches everything out. It stretches everything. It stretches your knees, it stretches your ankles, it stretches everything. And I tried it for many times before, and I'd always sit in random positions. I don't know if it's the ADHD or it's just sitting for a long period of time. Just it feels like my energy is going to waste, or I just get sloppy and I just either want to lay down or just do something else. So, anyways, I move around a lot, especially when I'm sitting down, and my legs are all over the place. So I've tried this position before many times, and what happened? Legs are all over the place. So I tried this position many times, and my feet would get numb. And I was googling maybe, or I was just watching something. I was like, that's why they get numb. Its purpose is to do that. Then what happened was that same seated position became a form of guard, form of being on guard because they adapted different martial arts styles and different sword styles or self-defense styles from that position. It's one of those stories where, oh, you want me to be weak because of this, so I'm going to become stronger in that position or like build techniques around the position. It feels the vibe of this is more the minute you realize where there is weakness is the minute you have a different way of becoming stronger. The minute you realize where your weakness is the minute you start you have the chance to develop a different way. I don't think it's you have the chance. I think the minute you notice you're weak in something, you automatically start thinking about it differently, which means the next time you approach it, it's going to be different. And that's when you being conscientious about it or being conscious about your activities or just allowing yourself to be within whatever it is you're doing, because that's how you notice stuff. And weakness is something as simple as being awkward, right? Like the first time I have a friend of mine who attempted magic, card magic. And it's funny because there are many tricks that are visual and stuff like this that allow you to kind of like do those card tricks. But his initial stages were super fucking awkward. And he had to just kind of like find out where the awkwardness is coming from and dive into it until he became confident in it or comfortable in it to become confident. Comfortable to become confident. Remember, I made a video about that. But so, like, the minute, going back to the seated position, is the minute that seated position became a position of weakness, is the minute where martial arts in general basically started evolving. And that position itself started became a symbol of I am sitting in this position without fear of you. And I'm assuming that's that's how they would feel after being able to attack in that position or defend in that position and stuff like this. The Seiza. See, now I'll never forget it. But okay, so like here's another factor. It's just like the purpose was to numb your feet so others can trust you. And that also might reflect because like okay, so the first we were reflecting on you and your strength when it comes to that position. So I naturally reflected on myself on that one because I was like, oh, okay. So I remember it was like when you're looking at weakness, automatically you're thinking about it differently, and I'm attempting to live my life in a conscientious way. So what effectively is happening is me uh, trying to spend time with everything that happens. If I'm angry, I spend time with my anger. If I'm excited, I spend time with my excitement. I spend time through the things that are around me, all that cute stuff. If I'm with somebody, I spend time with them. If I'm coding, I spend time coding. If I'm researching, if I'm talking to people, I spend time doing that. So like spending the time is gonna be spent regardless, but you spending the time is an intentional approach. But from the next side, when I was reading it, because like the seated position in Japan is how was purpose was supposed to numb your feet. I instantly was like numbing your feet, but I know about martial arts that have adopted this position as a position of strength in order for them to attack and defend. So they built on top of that weakness. But then, so others can trust you, sounds now a bit more. There's a double side to this because one side is you, but the other side is they want your weakness you can build on top of it. But the reason why they actually would have people sit in that position is so that they can trust them, so they can feel comfortable around them. And that's a certain self-reflection, or it's a certain self-actualization, so others can trust you, which means inherently you have to be in a state where they're comfortable with, and they would have to be in I don't want to use the word power because it's an interaction between them being comfortable, you not having power, or them feeling or being or just reflecting on themselves being in a position of power. You get it? So it's now I'm looking at the other people's like why would they feel uncomfortable around me? And that's of course it's a reflection on themselves, right? I'd imagine if somebody with a sword is sitting next to you, kind of be on edge. If somebody with a sword sitting next to you in an era where people can kill each other and it's fine, you'd be more on edge, right? So all of these kind of like, I mean, I think in the current era is the gun. You know, it's funny. It's like that small line, you could read into it in many ways. Seated position and how its purpose was to numb your feet. The reason I pointed at Japan is because naturally that's where I got it from. Was to numb your feet so others can trust you. I don't know about this man, but it feels like every single time you you're meeting people, and if we are to metaphorically explain this numb your feet instead of actually taking it to the seated position, it feels like anytime you're interacting with people, uh, let's say in a social way, anytime you're interacting with people in a social way, and the reason I say social is because social means you're kind of appealing to the masses. You being yourself is a form of your mastery over the Seiza position, as in you can move, you can defend, you can attack, and that wouldn't make people comfortable. whilst you actually being in a whole I'm polite and I'm like being friendly and like all that kind of stuff with people is yeah, it's basically you in a position that makes them feel comfortable. You're that kind of is a that is kind of a weakness. It's these kinds of actions are built on a weakness, which is social acceptance and like social attention and stuff like this. It definitely would be considered a weakness from that point of view. And ultimately, you're either pretending to be weak or, or you are. And it's not you are. Like anyone could be socially polite, but some people do it because they wouldn't want to offend people, while others do it because they want people to be uh, happy, supported, or just kind of like to feel comfortable and okay, right? Like it depends on the intention. Well, it's funny because that makes a lot of fucking sense. Our instincts to appeal to people is basically either from within us or it's because we understand how people are. And one is coming from weakness and the other is coming from strength. Not about video. Hey, hey, we're done. It's a video, guys.